Welcome to another episode of Comedy Wham Presents with me, your host, Valerie, and coming to you from the much-anticipated 2021 Moontower Comedy Festival. My sometime co-host, Miss Purrington, is resting at home. ComedyWham.com is your place to go for features about all Austin comedy, including those passing through Austin for festivals. Follow Comedy Wham on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. Where aren't we? In addition to podcasts, Comedy Wham brings you articles, album reviews, a monthly show on first Tuesdays at Hobson Time in Lakeway, and an events page for live shows in Austin and Houston. If you're a comic in those cities and want your show featured on the calendar, go to the events page and click Submit a Show to complete the short survey. Now, let's get back to our podcast. We hope you'll rate and review us. With over 200 interviews since its launch in 2016, the podcast is your anthropology lesson in Austin comedy, bringing you funny people and their stories. As a fan, I like to delve into a comic's background and motivations, and will usually take a detour along the way. Consider the interview a way for you to get to know the folks that make the Austin comedy scene one of the best in the country.
Very quick background, Valerie. This podcast started as a fan podcast 5 years ago in Austin, just talking to Austin comics.
Oh, awesome.
And it's grown to interviewing comics at festivals. I usually do long-form interviews, so this is like a nice challenge for me to try to do a condensed.
All right.
So I will try not to...
like Charlie Rose with pants on.
We'll do that.
So I'm going to do a very quick third-person introduction that's just going to jam all of your credits at once, and then we're just going to highlight a couple of things we heard, and maybe down the road we'll do a long-form interview. So, today we are recording in the back room of the Paramount Theater. This is incredible. Our guests today have had illustrious careers. Among the many credits include a debut comedy performance at age of 20 on David Letterman, to starring in the Police Academy movies, to the beloved radio game show Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, where my son has grown to admire, I guess, to writing for The Simpsons and the Ben Stiller Show, and being a Moontower Festival favorite.
That's right.
And so many more credits that I don't have time
If
for.
we were just one person, that would be really good credits.
Yeah, that would be great.
Unfortunately, it's two people. We had to split that. Yeah.
And they were here for the debut of the Joyride. I don't know, is it a documentary or is it a special? How do you ascribe it?
Docu special.
I call it a docu-comedy.
It's a weird hybrid. You know,
Yeah.
I think people probably had a hard time making sense of it. You know, when they saw it, But that just kind of interests me, you know, to tell stories, and that was the first time I got to see it with human beings. I mean, I edited it during the pandemic, so even the editor wasn't there. So I never watched it with one single person in a room. So when I think it tracked. It seemed like it tracked.
No, it tracked well, because that was the first time I'd seen it front to back, and since it was finished, and I watched it on the small screen by myself, so I had a very similar experience to Bob. What I couldn't tell was what was laughter on the soundtrack and what was laughter in the theater.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
And in terms of what it is, I call it a docu-comedy as opposed to a docudrama, where it's sometimes a docudrama will dramatize events from the documentary. What this is it's comedy, and then you get documentary footage of the things that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is Comedy Wham Presents Robert Bobcat Goldthwait and Dana Gould.
Oh yes.
He's now Robert Cat.
Yeah, that's my tour name, Bob Scratch Goldthwait. But I like that we talked through our introduction. You were giving a tiny amount of time, and we already blew it. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So I'm going to focus on 3 questions, and then I'm going to try to close up with something that I usually do on
This
my
is
regular
neither the
podcast.
time nor the place.
I know. I shouldn't spend time. This is how it's going to go, and then we're going to go, and then I'll wrap up with how this went. No, this is not a Toastmasters presentation. My friend Laura, who also contributes to Comedy Wham, kind of planted this seed of a question, and I think it speaks to Joyride, the movie, is, do you think that some of the animosity that you had in your early careers was because you were so much alike?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think that we were 100%, and you know, I attacked Dana, and I'm like Tom Kenny, who's SpongeBob SquarePants. I've known him since I was 6 years old. That's what we met by two crying nuns. A nun was crying and whatever. It's a long story. So I've known Tommy all my life, and I felt that Dana was being a little derivative. So then I attacked Dana for my perception of being derivative. Now let's go and think of why am I attacking him? Oh, sometimes you're derivative of Tom Kenny. I've never admitted that, but sure, I guarantee you, there's things I say and do that I'm influenced by him. And
that's natural to artists, and especially we all met when Tom since you were a kid.
Since I was 6,
and we were kids. I mean,
But you are what you hate.
You are what you hate, and we were 19. We were 18, 19, 20 years old in Boston.
Yeah, I was a few years older than you, right?
Yeah.
And I was just mean,
Yeah, and we didn't know. I was first time not living in a very crazy environment from my home of origin, and I was. His
upbringing was so insane.
Yeah,
that when he got into the Boston comedy scene, which is like. Just coke-fueled violence. Even back in the day, it was violent. It was crazy. And Danny was like, "Oh, this is such a nice place. This is
such a breath of fresh air.
such a break."
Yeah, and it doesn't. When you're a teenager, you do. We talk about it in the movie. You do try on personalities like a coat. And I was trying on the personalities of the people that I was around. I was like, maybe I'll be you for a week.
Yeah, but I think part of it is too is you have an amazing talent as a mimic, and you have an amazing ear. And I don't think everybody does that. I think you did that because you could. It was natural for you. Whereas I only have one other personality to switch into. That's the dude from Police Academy.
But it is. It's. I mean, we're very, very close now, and it's a very.
Yeah, he's like my best friend. Like I text him all the time. I have a small group of people that when I text, they text me back, and it's Dana and. Noel Fielding, which is insane. But no, it's Dana and Noel Fielding are my two buddies.
And our friend Tom, who lives near me, and it's great to be in the biz. Like I love that I'm in show business, and I am still friends with people I've known since I was 19.
But Tom Kenny's so busy. He's really hard.
He is literally the Mel Blanc of his generation.
So
he is the voice. He is on every cartoon.
I'm like, I just had eaten shit. I had bombed in Rhode Island, and I text Tommy. I go, "Oh my God, I'm in a tent in Rhode Island, and it was a horror show." This is just recently. I go, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm hosting the children's Emmys, the daytime Emmys." I go, "Oh." He goes, "You we're nominated for 2." I go, "Oh yeah." He goes, "You lost." I go, "How did you do?" He goes, "Oh, I lost 2." I go, "Yeah." So yeah, it's pretty. That's a true story. I forgot that I was nominated and he was hosting it. That's so pretentious and weird.
It's like if I forget that I have dry cleaning to pick up.
Yeah, it was. Exactly. But also, just like here's the thing. It's funny. It's like we grew up. We were in grammar school together. So Tom directs. So I was doing a voice on some. I was doing a voice on Adventure Time, and Tom is next to me, helping me. He's directing me through a voice performance, and it's just we were in our 50s and we were basically making fart noise, and I'm like, this is the same thing we did in 3rd grade in the back of Sister Venice's class.
Yeah. They never. That's the beautiful thing. It doesn't change, and your body gets older, but nothing else does.
Yeah. So the next 2 questions that I'm going to ask you are based off of things that I heard each of you say during the course of the movie. And I know this is a comedy-ish podcast, but these are serious themes because I love serious themes woven into funny things. So one was the airing of the commencement speech. And the line that you said, "The measure of success as a human is success as a human." Something along.
Yeah, it was at one point. Yeah, I said your merit as a human isn't measured. I can't remember what I said. Isn't measured by if the crowd loves you or your achievements. The measure of success is human is by the merit of the kind of human being you are. Yeah. Which I almost didn't put in because it sounded kind of self-grandizing. But then I said, cram it. I'm going to put it in. And the one thing I cut off when I say it's important to keep quitting. You keep quitting until you end up someplace you don't want to leave. And people don't believe it, but I actually chose to stop acting, and I got offered roles that a lot of people would have taken, and I knew it wasn't making me happy, and I knew I loved being behind the scenes, writing and directing and creating stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the destruction that you did on talk shows is such a I don't mean this in a negative way. It's a cry for help. It's like I'm a parody of it. In the way,
I'm in a corner, trapped.
Right, in the way that Pete Townsend destroyed his equipment because he was an artist. He was an art school kid, and he was in this weird bar band that he felt that he didn't belong in. He didn't feel like he belonged in his own band. And that's where destroying the equipment came from. It's really the same kind of thing. It's not a coincidence that you're a giant.
Yeah, I love the Who and stuff. It's funny. It's like at the end of the day, early Johnny Rotten had way more to do with my career than Johnny Carson. A lot of comics worship, getting on Johnny Carson and then him giving you the thumbs up to come over and sit down. And it's like, that's fantastic. That means you can wear a sweater and talk about where the sock goes in the dryer. some other scathing bit of comedy gold, Like Johnny Carson
finally has an opinion.
Yeah.
Well, so this is one of the big themes of the movie is just acceptance of yourself and being a good human, and that kind of leads into the line that I picked up on that you said that I'm going to tell you my reaction and what I saw in the movie is you apologized. This was one of the scenes in the moving car.
Yeah, I apologized to Dana.
And it was a very quiet and let it sit.
It was sincere.
You accepted the apology, and to me that felt. I mean, each of these lines that I've picked up, they felt like such big moments, just like in your lives, because given your childhood, given being on the butt end of his abuses in your early career. Yeah. It wasn't just I apologize to you, like you were forgiving of all of the things that had happened in your life. And
yes.
And my visceral moment was, oh my God, after that moment, which was very powerful, did you haul ass to the side of the road so that you could hug it out? Because
no,
so
it was
big.
We're comedians.
It
was never spoken of again.
It was, today watching it, what was interesting to me is I am sincere. It's not something cooked. We just rolled. I intentionally put the cameras in the back seat so we weren't performing for them.
Yeah.
And then we would talk. And when I apologized, I'm really worn down to the point where I'm not going as a director going, this will be great content for the movie. But it was sincere. And today when I watched it, what was interesting is he tries to deflect it. He goes, yeah, well, that's all right. And I go, no, I'm really sorry. I was really mean. I have to grab him because he wouldn't hear it. And it wasn't he wouldn't hear it because he wasn't letting me apologize. It's just how he's wired.
Yeah, I'm not to me. A lot of it, my opinion to those things are.
Oh, no.
it's.
I found the quiet place.
But to me, a lot of that is it's just unspoken. It's like that I know you apologize because of your actions, and because of our friendship and our relationship. I take it for granted that it's that you apologize in the way that I talk about what went on with my family. I had that conversation with my dad in 1994, where I basically said, "I know you love me, but I think you don't like me."
Yeah.
And he was very present for it and stood up and was great. And we haven't talked about it since because we don't have to.
Yeah. So now I'm really happy that it's in a movie, and I'll be answering questions about it for the rest of my life. But,
so was I but I get to.
You
be
were the first.
I get to be the first.
As a storyteller, I really realized that I had to put in the things that didn't present me in a favorable light. Not because I'm all about the truth, but because I actually knew that we had to have a story. Yeah. And it starts out with you learning about us not liking each other, and then by the end, Dana did that really funny thing where he says, "Who's your best friend now?" And it's really supplied a really great button to it. Yeah. But I mean, the key to this movie was shooting so much footage. The show itself got to be 2.5 hours long, us on stage.
Yeah.
And then just shooting all the time. And there was obviously like a lot of, there's probably a lot more comedy bits and a little bit more shenanigans that could have made the movie, but it was important to me, and I hope it works for people, that it was a bit of a narrative too.
Yeah. And it's about, Bob and I were both in very different ways very angry young men, and we're still and what this is about is that we're still angry, but now we're angry at the right things, and that the internal mechanism has been resolved, which is what you want to do in life. Your goal in life is to cut that cord to.
But clearly, also the other thing is, like, I think I've really changed. I think I've really evolved. But I still had to stick it to Seinfeld. Like, I still couldn't get past it. It's like,
that wasn't technically. But the provocation was. I will say, as somebody that's a very
it was pretty funny to me.
I'd use the word of egregious provocation.
but wait,
it's rough. And before I get canceled, I never get a chance to talk to Seinfeld.
You won't get canceled.
We're running up against the end of our time, and I want to mention that we've just gotten the first opportunity to watch Joyride. And for anybody that thinks from my serious questions, that's not necessary. That's not the tone of the movie. There is so much comedic gold in there.
Thanks.
Yeah, you two on stage, the natural banter that you have, the zings that Dana delivers during the course of your sets. I'm going to do something that I usually do during my long form podcasts, and we're going to do just this rapid fire. Okay. I always ask my guests one word to describe your past and one word to describe your future. So rapid fire. Let's do this.
My past, combustible.
Okay.
My future, a one-word description of my future. Exhale.
Calamitous. Apes.
And you have to watch Joyride to understand how important that is.
Yeah, it should have just been apes, clowns. Apes, clowns, and dead friends.
That is a wrap on Comedy Wham Presents. I cannot believe I get to say these words. Dana Gould and Bobcat Goldthwait.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
The movie releases on October 29th.
Yeah, you can stream it. If folks pre-order it on iTunes, it's a big help for us. So.
Yeah. Pre-order is great if you can.
And it is not that hard, folks, to actually find lots of places that you can follow both Dana and Bobcat all over the world. We hope that you have enjoyed listening and learning about how Dana and Bobcat got to be the comedic geniuses that you heard.
Oh, for sure.
Today, this is what I have. This has been Comedy Wham Presents Dana Gould and Bobcat Goldthwait. I'm Valerie, and that's been funny. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thanks so much. That's our first.